Hello, I am Alexandra Jade Johnson with the Entheos Academy for Optimal Living. Today I am talking with Angela Stokes-Monarch. We are talking about her course, Raw Emotions. She is a raw food expert and a raw food author, and she has released 160 pounds, reversing morbid obesity. Hello, Angela.
Hello.
So great to be chatting with you, and I'm very excited about your course, Raw Emotions.
Me too.
So let's just dive in. I would love to learn a little bit more about you and what are some of the things that you did to, lose 160 pounds? And go from kind of defensive and overeater to eating to this luminous, radiant being.
All right. Well, the primary shift that happened in my life was somebody introduced me to the raw food lifestyle, and that happened a little bit over 9 years ago. So at that point, I was morbidly obese, as you said, miserable. I was always ill. I was really shut down emotionally, in a very, very toxic relationship with food. It was the strongest relationship I had with anything in life. And basically, I was eating myself into the grave. And then I heard about the raw food lifestyle. A friend introduced me to it, and I read a book. I read the whole book in one night, and I decided this is what I wanted to do. It absolutely spoke to me. And for me, that was really like the doorway into my healing, my unfolding on so many levels. I just got into it in the beginning because I had all this excess weight to release. And I certainly did that. Within 2 years, 160 pounds had come off and never came back again. But that was really just the beginning, emotionally, socially, spiritually, mentally, you name it. My life is basically unrecognizable from how it was before. So to me, it really felt like that was my inroad into my transformation. And yeah, here we are today, and I feel extremely blessed to be where I'm at.
It's beautiful. I never met you at the morbidly obese. I met you when you're in your raw radiant goddess, and there's like such a you just have like such a radiance. It's hard to believe, and I think it'll give people inspiration who are watching this to believe that you were 300 plus pounds. That and it's like, wow, and look at you now. It's like I get like tears and like goosebumps imagining that process. So beautiful. Well, just to speak on that, the weight loss, a lot of programs focus on the physical weight loss. And I know you do a lot of work with the physical, the emotional, the spiritual. So can you talk a little bit about raw emotions and how it dives into the whole transformational process?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really key point to notice about most kind of mainstream dieting is that there's so much of a focus on, counting calories and calories in, calories out, and it's all about the physical. And to me, what I unfolded in my journey was the realization that, wow, there's so much emotional stuff going on underneath this, I ate myself out to like 300 pounds as basically like a kind of protective barrier against the world, so I could shut down, so I could block humans out, so I could numb myself. So I think honoring and looking into those kind of aspects can make all the difference for people in terms of more sustainable and permanent shifts in their lives, rather than just going on some kind of diet that you're just having the idea that you're going to go off again at some point and go back to how you ate before. And, these endless kind of dieting, merry-go-round, yo-yo, binge, starvation patterns that people live through. I mean, to me, none of that holds any interest. That's not the kind of thing that I want to choose for myself. I want to choose a really rich, healthy, nurturing lifestyle that sustains me throughout my life, and that's what I feel that I've been drawn to. And yeah, examining all of those other layers helps to keep it all in place rather than just being this kind of superficial physical relationship. There's so much more to it. So Raw Emotions goes into all of that kind of stuff, exploring emotional detox and what does that mean and what's going to come up for someone on this kind of journey, and what kind of ways can you deal with cravings and overeating patterns. And for most people, choosing to either have a raw food lifestyle or eat more healthily or whatever it is that you choose, it's usually a pretty big shift from where they're coming from. And so, the more that you can kind of fill out the whole picture and see everything from a bigger perspective, right, the more likely it is that you're going to stay with it and make it something that's really sustainable for you in the long run. So that's what Raw Emotions is there for.
Fantastic. I love it. And it's such a great book. So many amazing tools. So what's your, this is a big, complex question, and I know you're going to go into it in the course, but what do you think some of the root issues for people that have challenges with food and their weight and overeating and eating disorders and things like that?
Yeah, definitely a huge question. It feels to me like the main thing that I see is that we develop these very strong emotional connections with food that go way beyond a simple relationship with food as physical fuel for our bodies. If you look at a wild animal, they primarily appear to eat to fuel their physical bodies, to stay present in these forms they've turned up in. Whereas, you look at the average human in our kind of societies, and the reasons they give for eating and eating all day long and eating like thousands upon thousands of calories and crazy things that you would never find in nature. People say that they eat because they're happy, they eat because they're sad, they eat because they're celebrating, they're bored, they're depressed, they feel like they deserve it. All of these bizarre emotional connections that we create around food that to me are really interesting to look at and to examine and to take apart and to ask yourself if you want to restructure all of that. Like if you're at a place in your life right now where you're not feeling honestly that great with everything that's going on for you, and it's pretty clear that if you keep repeating the same behavior, you're going to keep getting the same results. Maybe you want to choose some different patterns, some different habits, and to look at those kind of things. So that's really what we go into in the book, exploring all those kind of things. And of course, there's so much more to the picture other than just whatever we might have created for ourselves in terms of our emotional connections, our patterns. There's, social conditioning. There can be so much emphasis for people socially on food. There's the media, on and on and on. All of the different aspects of how we become so enmeshed in our relationships with food. And I think for myself, what I really like to focus on is that we can change that whole thing if we want to. Just because that's where we've got to, that's the point that we've got to, does not mean we have to keep on making the same choices.
I love it. And can you talk a little bit about, like you said, that you can make this change? And this has been a journey that you have been on for years. And there's this idea in the weight loss and certain programs that it's like, 30 days, you do it, and, your life is transformed, and voila. Can you talk a little bit about the process? And I think it's inspiring to see you go through it for years and years, and not that it was super challenging, but you know what I'm saying. Share something on that.
I think for sure people could do something for, the classic 21 days or 30 days or something and notice remarkable shifts that they're inspired to carry on with. And in my experience, in the long run, that's more where the really noticeable stuff comes in. For myself, I've been on this journey for 9-something years, and I feel like everything just keeps on getting better and better all the time, you know? And I knew straight out from the first week that this is what I wanted to be doing. This is what I wanted to be pursuing. But it was for sure a journey, you know, a massive amount of transformation, a massive amount of letting go primarily. Like if I look at the overarching theme of the last 9 years for me, it was all about stripping away the old stuff and letting go of it. And that doesn't happen overnight, you know, on every level. I mean, you wouldn't want it to happen overnight.
Yeah, right.
You know, you're in a 300-pound body. If you went through your entire physical detox in one night, you probably wouldn't make it through the night. And the same goes, you know, emotionally and mentally. And of course, it's great for things to move along swiftly, but in practice, my sense is that baby steps, moving forward, consistently showing up, and following a path that really resonates for you, that's what brings the really outstanding results over time. And, you know, here I am. I feel like living proof that we can change everything if we want to.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you. And then who is this class for? I mean, we all have, you know, our society has so many issues around food. So can you share about who this class might be for?
I guess potentially everyone. I would say more specifically people who can identify themselves as having concerns, issues, patterns around overeating, obesity, morbid obesity, if that's the category that you're currently dealing with, people who deal with cravings a lot, people who can recognize that their relationship with food is in some way not serving them. It's like disjointed. Anyone with any kind of eating disorder, really, because it always comes back to the same kind of root. It's that emotional connection. How did we set that up? How could we restructure it? Anyone interested in a healthier kind of lifestyle, you don't even necessarily have to feel like you have issues with food to be able to pursue, a healthier way of eating and unfolding whatever attachments you might have. So, yeah, anyone who eats food, I guess.
Fantastic. I love it. And then what are some of the key takeaways that you hope that people really, really get in the course?
Again, I feel like the main point is about stripping away all of the stuff that isn't truly us, stuff that we've collected along the way, whether it's physical stuff, emotional, whatever, all that kind of baggage. I feel like that's the overarching theme, is getting into the core of who we really are and who we really want to be showing up as here. And that's a big part of the book, is we create our optimal vision for how do we want to be living here? Like, if we really had everything exactly as we would love it to be, what would that look like? And there's a lot of practical tips throughout the book as well, guiding people with exact steps to take and to follow to pick apart and then restructure the connections with food. So I feel like that's a really key part, to have framework and structure so that it's not all kind of, esoteric or in our heads or something, but we have action steps to take. It's all about the action ultimately. We can read thousands of books or hear thousands of seminars, and if we're not actually taking action with stuff, not necessarily really getting anywhere. So we'll be exploring all that kind of stuff.
Beautiful. How exciting. So cool. What a gift to be able to do a class with you. As you said, a living proof of what's possible and really leading the way for being an example of this healthy lifestyle. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and lots of love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.